This is Beer and a Shot with the Butcher, coming to you from Pat's Tavern, 390 Howard Boulevard, The Woods, New Jersey. Sports with no frills, no filters, and no buybacks. So if you're going to give it up, and make it count. I'm here with the Knicks Talk Trio, me, myself, Scott Baldwin, out of Arlington, New Jersey, John Christie, representing the Kenville, and later the Hopakong. Now, you know, I've known you guys for a lot of years. You're my favorite two guys to talk about Knicks sports with. John, I've probably spent more time on the phone with you breaking down the Knicks, their roster, who they could get, who we've had, how it all went wrong, and how we lost that final in '94 a million times. Scotty, I've probably talked to you more times about that '99 team than anybody else I've ever met. Spent more hours in person watching games with you than anybody else I've ever met. So I'm proud to be talking about the Knicks with you guys tonight. Now, if you don't know Scotty and John, they're also both local musicians in the area who I frequent their gigs. John, if you want to tell us something about any upcoming gigs you have with Birdgrass here in North New Jersey, why don't you tell the people about it?
Sure, we're playing local here in Hopakong at the Lake Loop. Benefit for the Hopakong Lake, and then after that we're going to be upstate New York in Ausable Forks, and then in Lake Placid.
I got the Scotty BSide birthday bash coming up November 7th here at Pat's Bar, 390 Howard Boulevard, Mount Arlington, 07856 for your GPSs. You guys should definitely come check it out. The Butcher himself, you know, he dicks me every birthday, but I think I'm going to get him out to perform on this one.
I don't know what you're talking about. I usually dick you right after your birthday when everybody else is left.
It was a lonely 35th birthday last year.
So, guys, we're here to talk about the Knicks. And, you know, there's nothing better about being a Knicks fan than the off-season, because that's when we... that's when we're at the highest, you know, that's when...
chomping at the bit for training camp.
Chomping at the bit for something new to happen, hoping it's going to be a better year, hoping we're going to come to a higher level once again. And I want to talk to you this year about how many wins you think the team can get. But first of all, I want to talk about this roster. Now, it's not set yet, and I think you've heard they announced the signings. Trice from Michigan State, Saunders, the Ivy League kid at guard, and Atkins from Virginia, Defensive Player of the Year, undrafted. Do you think any of these guys have a chance to make the roster? If you look at guaranteed contracts right now, there's really no space, but you have partial guarantees, so any three of these guys with a transcendent performance could jump up. Scotty B, I mean, what do you think? Do you have hopes for any of these guys to make the roster?
The one thing I think is really interesting about Atkins is his defensive prowess, but here we are in a team where it seems we're lacking a lot of offense.
I think that's a great point.
So as much as I would love to see this defensive kid get a shot, I mean, we're looking at 18 players right now, so 4 of these guys are not going to make it.
What do you think, John, of the 3 guys undrafted invited to camp? Are they just camp roster spots? Is there someone you think the Knicks are hoping could push somebody off the roster?
I think they're looking for a battle at the backup small forward position for defensive 3. We want to get one of those 3 and D guys, and I think if Lance Thomas can't cut it, there's some pressure on him at the camp there.
And Early is soft as baby shit. I'm sorry if you're listening early, but man up.
Well, so it sounds like you're saying you don't know that Thanasis is going to be able to fill that role as a defensive small forward if he's on the roster, and that maybe an insurance policy for them is what they're hoping would jump up. I was thinking more that they were hoping, since we only have 5 true guards on the roster, that either Sanders or the kid Trice was going to jump up and really showing something in training camp. Otherwise, you're really looking at small forwards 4, Anthony and 3 backups, and only 5 guards at the position. Not that we're going to rotate in many more than 4, but only 5 guards at the position makes us
stand there. Well, Calderon getting injured all season, we'll have that 5-guard rotation.
Well, you know, then we're down to 2 point guards and 2 shooting guards, with the backup shooting guard being Sasha Vujacic.
And we love saying Vujacic every time he connects.
Let me ask you guys, Sasha Vujacic, if he goes in 10 minutes, stays at 40% from the 3-point range, is that enough? Is that enough for him?
How old is he right now? 38?
He's 33 years old.
Oh, 33.
He's playing in Europe, so you know he hasn't been getting fouled.
Yeah.
But he's been playing. He hasn't been sitting around doing nothing.
And he's a pro. He's a champ.
I agree, and we expect Aflalo to have big minutes. So
follow Creed, baby. Thanks for signing.
What you're really going to see is a 3-guard rotation with Jose Calderon starting, and it sounds like they're pushing for that, even though it's not what I want.
It's going to happen, unfortunately.
I think so, and you know what? That's fine because that's where you're going to get the most value out of him. But with Jose Calderon starting, you know there's going to be backup minutes. I think Aflalo is going to get more traditional starters minutes. And I think you're going to see Langston Galloway as the 3rd guard off the bench for defense. He plays either position. He's a natural too, but he's a little small. We played him at the 1 out of need last year. I think there's hopes Jerian Grant's going to take over for Calderon one day as a starter. I imagine Galloway backing either of them up. What's your take on the point guard position on the team, Scotty B?
I think right now, as much as we all seem to be in love with Grant, I think he's going to hit a little bit of a rookie wall. I think Galloway, he's had some time with the triangle. I think eventually we're going to see Grant push him out, but it's not going to be right away.
If you see Calderon go down early, John Christie, do you like the idea of starting Galloway? He's familiar with the offense. He's kind of Derek Fisher's boy at this point.
I don't think Calderon's making it out of camp.
Wow.
Yeah, he's going to be injured.
So you just expect him to be a broken down veteran one more year, and we'll trade him next year when his contract's down to 1 year and hopefully get somebody for him.
I just think that Grant's going to beat him out in camp.
You think Grant's going to beat him out fair and square?
He's a 4-year player with a 5th year really from college.
Maybe he'll be backing up Vujacic as the second 2-guard on the team at that point.
I think Vujacic is going to get cut also. Don't forget that Phil Jackson cut
like
other former Laker players last year. They cut, who was that? Shannon Brown they cut.
Yeah.
Well, sure. Lamar Odom never even got
not
invited to camp after
Odom seemed to be a courtesy.
We have quotes
Jackson.
from Phil Jackson saying that he expects Vujacic to be the 2-guard off the bench. Do you think that's just hype? You think he's just trying to? They give him a guaranteed contract. They didn't have to do that.
I think we're going to see Vujacic play.
Are you just down on broken down old players? I mean, for the first time, we got a young roster. A lot of guys under 25. At least the guys that are unproven are young. It sounds to me like you're just tired of the Sasha Vujacic's and the Jose Calderons of the world. Is that true?
Well, I just been watching Phil, and I don't think that he's going to just pick a guy up or keep a guy on there because he's been with him before.
Well, I don't know. He has a history of doing that with Ron Harper and the Lakers.
And if he did guarantee a contract, then that's something.
Let me ask you something on the subject of older players. Carmelo Anthony, steadily into his 30s this year, shown to be injury prone. We're going to be paying him until 2021, incrementally more each year. Would you drop him at this point just for salary relief?
No, I would not. Okay. You're not going to get that value back no matter what you do. You're not going to get that kind of value.
Well, I mean,
and as an aging player, he's still going to have a huge role. I mean, look at what Paul Pierce has been doing.
I agree. He'd be the centerpiece of his team, and the Paul Pierce scenario is the one we're looking for on this next team. But we've discussed this years and years before. Paul Pierce was a bit younger than 31 when he had the run with the Celtics.
But he also had something very, very important around him, which was other players, which is really nice to have. And we've had this conversation before. This goes back to the question that I had for you, Scotty, which is can you have a small forward be your centerpiece on your team? That's my question for you, to take you all the way.
Well, LeBron James just brought a team to the finals being a small
5 years
forward.
in a row.
I don't know. Do you think he's really a small forward, though? He's not really a small forward.
Well,
he doesn't play the role of a small forward.
If somebody had an undefined role on a team, it would be LeBron James. He is the everything and anything.
Right. He's not playing a defined
but he's certainly playing
role.
with a defined couple guards and another forward and center around him. He would have to be a small forward de facto. Julius Erving won the titles with both leagues. And then, of course, Larry Legend. These are probably the top small forwards. I think it's a good enough size. You're going to see more centers on that list, yes.
Over a huge amount of time. And there's a lot of other small forwards that were in the league.
At 5 positions, you would assume your top 10 would contain 2 positions from, on each in the top 10. And I find we've got 2 small forwards on the list.
You can say the same thing about Melo, and I won't say this a lot. You would about LeBron because you can slide him over to the power forward spot.
Well, and I think that's a concern with this team.
Which I don't want to see him there, by the way.
We have 6 defined bigs right now as I see it. Robin Lopez with Kevin Seraphim backing him up at the center.
Love the Lopez signing.
And then we have a troika of guys I think that could possibly start at the 4. You've got Derek Williams, which seems to be the favorite in the media to get the start. Kristaps Porzingis, which we all think is probably heading there. And then the interesting case of Kyle O'Quinn, who I think was signed originally to back up Lopez, but he's really much more of a forward, played a stretch forward position with Orlando. So I think you look at him in that 4 now that you have Karim Seraphim backing up at the center. Who do you think wins the power forward battle in camp, and who do you think wins the starting job? These could be 2 different answers. John, who do you think wins the power forward battle in camp or goes into camp the starter?
I think it's going to be O'Quinn. However, I'm really hoping it's Derek Williams, but I don't think it's going to happen. But that would be my dream, that he would step up to the plate and really, really, really take the next step forward. But I think having Kyle O'Quinn in there playing defense is a nice piece to have in the starting lineup.
Now, you think Phil will see it that way too. He'll go with the size and the experience of Kyle O'Quinn. You're just hoping that the scoring of Derek Williams would somehow thrust him into the starting lineup. He's going to figure it out. Where does that leave Porzingis in your mind?
For me, Porzingis is coming off the bench because we need points off the bench, second unit. And for me, he could be our star of our second unit, which then helps him build confidence towards getting to be a starter.
So you believe Kristaps is the backup, and whoever's not starting in front of him is going to be relegated to third place on the bench, essentially.
Pretty much.
Yeah, and I tend to agree with you on that. Scotty B, who do you think the Knicks are going to push to get the job in camp? Who do you think is going to win it coming out of camp, and who do you think ends the season as a starting power forward?
I think it's interesting. If Porzingis, for these 2 reasons, can stay on the floor, and I say that being injuries and foul trouble. If this kid can stay on the floor and get productive minutes, you might see him steal that starting spot by Christmas.
Oh, what a big lineup it would be. Jose Calderon, 6'5", Aaron Aflalo, 6'6", Carmelo Anthony, 6'9", Derek Williams, 6'10", or Kristaps Porzingis, 7'9". What are they calling him now? Robin Lopez, a 7-footer, and Kevin Seraphim, some real beef in the post. I think Lou Mundinson, more of a forward, but really just you look at him as the 6th big man. I'm looking at this.
Works.
Yeah, and I think having Lou and Lance Thomas are important because the guys who are getting the lion's share of the minutes know there's 2 guys that started last year who know the offense, who are ready to come off the bench and show them how it's done if they don't want to hustle. And one thing those 2 guys do is hustle. And yes, I said do. I see a problem. We're trying to figure out who starts at power forward, and there's always a lot of talk at Carmelo's best position possibly being the 4.
I hate that.
Derek Williams, Porzingis, Kyle O'Quinn. We're pretty much forcing Anthony back into the 3 spot. Do you think he can defend the position? Do you think it's as important? Does that affect your feelings about who plays in the back?
Well, I don't think he can defend any position. I thought 2 years, 2013, when we finished second in the East, he had all those big bodies around him, and that made him a better defender. Do we have that again this year? Maybe. If we do, we might see Melo actually defend and play both sides of the floor this year.
So you think in a system where everybody else is taking care of their obligation, Melo can,
he can step his defense up.
But we can cover up for him and Calderon.
Yeah, well, Calderon, like we were saying.
Neither of you sound like you think he's going to really see any minutes. You think the Knicks are going to push him out front?
No, I think
he's not going to be able to earn those minutes.
I think he's going to be out there, unfortunately, without earning them. That's my fear. I also think he's going to spend a lot of the year injured, and we're going to get Grant and Galloway out there.
Well, I'd rather flush out what he is early. I like having Grant or Galloway to take care of those minutes if he disappears. I think you're going to see some kind of move mid-season, or maybe Trice or Saunders comes up from the D-League because there's something good they're doing there. Thanasis, I think you got to get hit minutes early as well as Porzingis. I personally think for defensive reasons, I don't want Derek Williams starting. I don't wish for him to start. I frankly like to see him coming off the bench for his 10, 12 minutes, maybe when Carmelo Anthony isn't on the floor and we need a mindless scorer who doesn't have much flow for the offense.
He does seem committed early on. I love seeing him sitting there next to Phil in Summer League.
I like everything awesome. I've seen from most of these players.
Yeah, they've been, Melo's been running those workouts, which, by the way, kudos, Melo. We're going to bag on you a lot for doing wrong shit. We got to give you props when you do right shit. Thanks for getting the team together in the offseason.
Yeah, well, I think he had to show he didn't hate every move that Phil made.
One of you said I think his agent made him do it. I forget which one you told me
that.
Maybe it was. Oh, cool. I'll take that credit.
My thing for Derek Williams is he's certainly capable of playing defense. It's a matter of it's team defense. They can get themselves organized and play team defense. For me, the defensive lapse has not been Melo. I feel like it's been guards. We've been penetrated over and over again. And when your guards are penetrating, that's right. When they're penetrating and they're running rough shot throughout your entire defense, there's nothing the small forward is going to be able to do.
Right.
I hope that whoever commits on defense is who ends up starting for this team. I mean, I understand you're pretty much backed in Aaron Aflalo at the 2. He's supposed to be a capable defender who's fallen off in recent years, but if he at least understands the concepts, if he's fallen off physically, I can handle that. I think that's why another reason you're going to have Langston Galloway, a proven professional defender, coming off the bench as the first.
I love how long Galloway is, too. He's got a wingspan.
I do, and I think it makes up for his size. If he comes in at either guard, that's fine. I like Derek Williams' instant offense. I'd like to make it simple for him. Hand him the ball and tell him to go score. It'll be interesting, though.
What's his basketball IQ like, Derek?
Well, of all these guys, he's supposed to be the lowest basketball IQ.
I kind of see it in his face.
Not supposed to be a bad locker room guy, but there's a lot of quotes from his former coaches and players that there was certain things that he just didn't understand. And, maybe a guy like that is a great guy to give the ball off the bench and say, hey, go do it. Don't worry about all these other things.
Let's not forget, the 2 teams he were on were a mess.
Yes.
The Knicks are also a mess, and this might not be his chance to show up and shine on another messy team. But to judge him based on those 2 teams, Sacramento had how many coaching changes?
Yeah, both young teams. It's interesting. We've got a lot of 25-year-olds kind of on their second contract with Kevin Seraphim, Kyle O'Quinn, Lance Thomas, really, in that same age group. Lou Amundsen. Guys who are going to be trying to prove that what they're going to be in this league. Are they going to be starters or are they going to be backups? We're very forward heavy. I don't believe this will be
Phil got roster. Big, baby. That's what I wanted
Phil
to say.
Likes to get big. Phil likes to get big. I agree, but we've got we've got we've got a backup third center who could also be a forward, and we've got 3 small forwards that aren't traditional wings in any sense of the word.
We're going to see Porzingis get some time at the 5 as well.
I agree. I personally think what you're going to see at the beginning of the year, I think Kyle O'Quinn will win that job in camp also.
He seems like his IQ. I see Williams having a hard time.
I think he's the most established pro who's going to go into the position. He's also going to rebound and defend in tandem with Robin Lopez around Carmelo. The other thing about him that I like is he's a pick and pop guy who can shoot, considered a stretch 4, not a bad guy to have with Carmelo operating in the post. I think he'll rebound and defend his position.
So Frazier's going to love that mid-range jumper of his. Huh?
Well, I think, Frazier is going to enjoy it, certainly. Robin Lopez, what do we expect out of him? Give me a quick stat line.
Oh, I love the lunch pail hard hat. He's New York ready to go. I think you said he's going to be a fan favorite.
I think
People are going to love this kid. My one concern, I was telling John before we started the show, last year he averaged 27 minutes a game. I know he had a lot of bigs he was going up against. I'd like to see that get to 30, 32 for the money we're paying him, and see our other big.
A lot of young guys, a lot of development, a lot of maybes, could be's, will it happen? What do you think of Derek Fisher's ability to, first of all, develop these players?
I love Fish.
They signed a couple more his guys on the roster with Lance Thomas and Lou Amundsen. What do you think, John, about Fisher as a coach? I know last year was a tough year to judge him on.
Still a very big question mark. Whether or not a coach can develop players, you don't know that until you have a guy working for you for 5 years to see if he develops guys.
Now, can we look at his year with Cleanthony early and take anything from that? Or do you think Phil overshot on that draft pick maybe? Too early to tell?
Well, Cleanthony early had some good college games, He's still got a few years to develop, He's a young guy still. So there's still some chance for Derek to step him up, but I think developing players is not necessarily our
Melo hates those words right now.
Let me ask.
I want to see if Fisher can just
question.
really control the game, make play calls when he needs to. Just
I thought he was okay,
basketball.
Sufficient out of timeouts last year. Thought he had a couple rookie mistakes. I liked his candor and I liked his media presence. I liked his answers to most questions. I liked his presence on the bench.
Did you like his defensive scheme?
It was hard to tell. I thought at times we were really out-athleted and
he said at the beginning of the year, he said his whole concept was they were going to relax off the three-point shooters and funnel guys into the middle. And
Well, I don't think we had the players in the middle to make the center of that plan hold up. Let me ask you this. We've talked about this
They hit the
before.
threes.
We had a special teams roster for a long time that was covered up by a lot of outside shooting. I'm seeing young guys, 25, but guys that are already kind of known for having a defensive player presence and being smarter players. Where do you think we end up with the Knicks? Obviously, Derek Fisher's going to get the whole year to prove himself. We've talked about who's on the roster. Where do you guys have the Knicks finishing? How many wins? I'll ask you first of all.
I got us bare. If we scratch 500, that would be a miracle. But it can happen.
Well, I want a number.
I got 40 wins, 38 to 40.
Okay, 38 to 40, but we're going to write you down for 40.
Write me down for 40.
All right, because we're optimistic because we're Knicks fans.
That's right.
I got 31, 32 wins, best case scenario.
John's probably right.
Yeah.
It's probably
There
right.
has to be one realist on the show, and I need something.
That's best case.
I need something keeping me going all year, baby. And if they're not going to trade Melo, what I need is a 42-win season.
Oh,
So I
God
think
bless.
that's what it's going to take to be 7th or 8th in the East. I think that's what it's going to take to hang with teams like the Bucks that I think are going to hold.
When's the
back to
last
back,
time that the
and
8th
Wizards.
seed had 42 wins in the East?
Well, I think what you're going to find is teams finding.
Didn't a couple of them losing records and sneak into the playoffs over the last 10 years?
Well, I think his point is that would be a lot of wins for us to sneak into the 7th or 8th seed, correct?
Right.
I think this year you're going to see cumulative wins in the East go up because of the new playoff format. I think it was a good idea to make sure that division winners didn't automatically get series in their buildings, and I think people are going to fight for harder records. You're going to see less give-up games. There was a lot of games last season where the 7th and 8th seed were set and the division winners were set, so the 5th seed was set, and a lot of teams rolling over. I think it's going to keep the competition real leading up into the playoffs. So I've got John Christie at 31 wins.
31.
Scotty B at 38 too. We're going to write him down for 40. And the Butcher is predicting a winning next season with 42 wins.
Well,
Don't
that's
get
a
me wrong.
500. I don't want to call that winning.
42 wins would be one win
41,
over
you're right,
500.
you're right. Excuse me.
And
I
that's
would
what
love to see it. Love to
predicting
see
for the
it. Yeah,
Knicks.
don't get me wrong. I would love to see it.
I think it's quite
And
possible.
I'll be rooting for it.
If we can get a 500 ball club, then next summer's edition could push us where we need to be.
I agree. So next time we tune in is going to be after the first training camp session, and then once again the first preseason game on October 7th. This is Beer and a Shot with the Butcher signing off. Thank you, John Christie. Thank you, Scotty Baldwin. I'll see you in a few weeks.